My first thought when I hear startup capital of the world is skepticism.
Right.
Like, we have 3.5 million people. We're cool, but I don't know if we're that cool.
And then we saw the success of Divvy and, a bunch of these other unicorns that no one thought Utah was capable of doing.
Okay.
And so that really put us on the map. How are you guys beating San Francisco to unicorns?
It ranks #1 in the nation for Ponzi schemes. Are we going to change that someday, or? Utah calls itself the startup capital of the world, which is a pretty bold claim. But here's the thing, according to the data, if you start a company in Utah, you are 70% more likely to hit unicorn status than anywhere else. So to kick off season 2 of UtahPreneur, I sat down with Tim Culie. He runs the Startup State Initiative under Governor Cox to break down exactly why Utah's unique mix of culture and resources makes us so much more likely to hit that $1 billion valuation mark, and what Utah state resources are available to early stage, mid stage, and late stage entrepreneurs. Things like getting $500 free to fund your idea, or snagging a microloan to help you get to the next level, subsidized office space, and even tax credits that can save you thousands of dollars a year. Plus, there's over $1 billion of capital just waiting to be deployed for the next wave of founders. It could be you that snags some of that $1 billion and builds the next unicorn here in Utah after you listen to this episode. Tim, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're here in the Utah World Trade Center. I didn't even know we had a World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Tell us about this building. We're like just east of City Creek.
Yeah, so we're in City Creek Mall, right above the food court.
Okay.
Literally like a block and a half from the Capitol building, so we can see it right out the windows. Yeah. So one of those buildings, I don't know, you probably got lost coming here, but yeah. It's what people just don't know we're here.
Yeah, it's hidden in plain sight, as they say. And you were saying you guys take up like half this building, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Well, there's just this floor. So I think there's 12 floors, and there's part banks and investment banking groups and venture capital firms. I believe Epic's based here, Fidelity, and then the World Trade Center.
And the official name of where we are is the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity.
That's correct. You did a good job there.
Oh, thank you. Also known as the Startup State Initiative.
It's just one program under GoEO for short.
Okay. GoEO.
Yep.
Economic Opportunity. Okay.
Yep.
So apparently your job is to brand Utah as the startup capital of the world, and not only brand it that, but make it become that.
Yep.
My first thought when I hear startup capital of the world is skepticism.
Right.
We have 3.5 million people. We're cool, but I don't know if we're that cool.
Yeah. Well, we are that cool. Let's just start there. But it's actually been really interesting the way we've started and the way we've grown as a community. Kind of came out of just need from entrepreneurs, but we get a lot of calls from people all over the world trying to mimic what we've created. So literally yesterday we had over 40 people from Africa and Italy, trying to figure out what our secret sauce was and how we were able to create such a unique culture.
So they're coming here because Utah's an interesting case study, basically.
Correct.
We went from literally nobody to like on the cusp of becoming a Seattle, let's call it, or like a major tech hub.
Right.
Why were we able to do that? Like, you, better than anyone, you saw it happen. You had a front row seat, and now you're have an even closer front row seat.
Totally. Yeah. So I started my entrepreneur career like in 2009, which is really when the community, Silicone Slopes, and a whole bunch of these other groups really started to kind of percolate. We were literally in the basement of Church and State, which is just down the street.
Yeah,
it's a little co-working space.
Co-working space here.
Yeah. And so like they weren't even done being built, and we were in there like pitching businesses, right? So a couple other players came in way before we did. So there's a thing called the fund of funds. Basically, the government said, we're not really sure, how do we grow businesses? And they put $30 million into 26 venture capital funds in 2005.
And this is just like a free check they wrote to the venture capitalists.
Ish. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So there's things that happen.
An asterisk or two.
Sure, an asterisk. Yeah. So, but they said, and it usually comes with matching funds. So if we give you $5 million, you have to also go out and raise $5 million. And that's typically what government tries to do, like match our money.
Sure.
So now you can imagine that just put, if let's say it was all matched funds, $60 million into growth capital without a structure of who to even give it to. Right. So 2009 rolls around, we start percolating, Josh James and a lot of these old, I'm going to call it old money. He's still young, but did very, very successful, said, hey, how can we start supporting that culture? Well, then these new businesses started coming, first checks start getting written, and they start to return some of that money. So Kickstart Fund came out of this kind of fund of funds. And then we saw the success of Divvy and, a bunch of these other unicorns that no one thought Utah was capable of doing.
Okay.
And so that really put us on the map. They're like, how are you guys beating San Francisco to unicorns when no one's ever heard of you guys?
Yeah, Utah is, you're 70% more likely to hit unicorn status if you start a business in Utah.
Correct.
It's insane.
Yeah. So you want to say startup capital of the world. I mean, the data's right there.
There you go. That's fair. So 2009, everybody's like maybe starting to wake up that there's something cool here.
Yep.
Before that, was there anything going on, or like what set it up so that that could start going
Good question.
the way that it did?
So what people don't realize is we have a huge history in gaming. Huge history. I mean, the internet came through Utah. Like University of Utah is one of the primary locations for the internet.
Wow.
And so
television as well.
Television. Yeah. And so like Pixar, like Ed Catmull came from the University of Utah, right? Like, so we had a lot of big tech coming through here. If you're not familiar with a place called Thanksgiving Point, that funding all came from WordPerfect and Novell. So there's like the beginning of like the internet. And, I got to use WordPerfect before everyone uses Word now, And so it's really, really unique to like watch like these kind of pioneers of software. But we weren't connected to San Francisco in the way that Apple and, the technology was.
Yeah.
But like we have such a unique culture of sales here, right? And so that's real old money, like in the realest way.
Yeah.
It was just kind of sitting, like it didn't have anywhere to go, like typical small businesses, and I think that like 2009 to that 2015 era, that big money started to come out in unique ways. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Instructure, for example, right? Like took over, universities all across the country, and it started at BYU. Like just these little bitty companies started making a huge impact. And I think it's been all like kind of percolating, just waiting for the bubble to kind of burst in a good way.
Hey there, it occurred to me that if you're listening to this podcast, you might be looking for ideas of a business to start. Or if you already have a business, you're looking for best practices on how to scale. Well, you're in luck. Last season, I interviewed 22 amazing Utah entrepreneurs, and we put together a resource that compiles all of their amazing business ideas that they talked about and all of the hacks that they have used to grow their own business. And it even compiles the top 10 hacks, and it has short clips attached to every idea, hack, and business strategy. So you can just watch that, understand it, and run with it. You don't have to watch the entire episode if you don't have time. If you want to download it, go to utahpreneur.co/ideas, and you're going to be able to download that, get absolutely everything, take a huge step forward in your business or ideation process, and enjoy some amazing stories while you're at it. Again, that's utahpreneur.co/ideas. That's also linked in the description if that's easier for you. Back to the episode.
So like, for example, we created the engine for golf simulators.
Okay.
Like the golf game,
Yeah.
like that came from here. Mortal Kombat had some roots here, like a bunch of like random things that you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Were all rooted in like these technology hubs, like at the U and down at BYU.
Wow. So interesting, because today I have these moments all the time where I'm like, oh, I didn't know that company was based here. Like Nomadic today.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's like
Blender Bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like these companies are like, wait, what? Y'all are huge.
But if you go back, like even from the beginning, we've oddly just kind of been this hub for random stuff coming through that ends up being really big. Okay, so the first thing that kind of kick-started this after we had a fairly good breeding ground for it was the fund of funds, which paid itself back tenfold, and now there's
doing great. Yeah.
$1.4 billion from the government that's like waiting to be allocated. Is that what you said?
No. So I think what happened is that fund kicked off returns to the investors and to the government, right? So paid all that money back. And then naturally, now people are starting to put money back into the community. So if you look at investors, like angel investors, a lot of entrepreneurs become angel investors because like these people help them get started and they kind of want to pay it forward, right?
Sure.
They know they're going to lose the money or there's a high likelihood, but they understand that that's part of the economic development. Because that's all happened, I think if we were to like take the allocation of all capital that's in Utah ready for software, my guess is around $1 billion, $1.5 billion.
Wow.
Just waiting to deploy.
Yeah.
And that's either just, money in mattresses or in strategic funds.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like,
it's hidden.
When it goes well the first time, everybody's like, yeah, let's do this again.
Yep.
Do this again. And it was post 2008. So
Yeah.
everyone's kind of rebuilding anyway. And
Correct.
you've got that whole economic engine working for you at a good time. So that's cool. What else happened from 2009 to 2025 to make us who we are today?
Yeah, I think we actually started to lean into the skills that were untapped back then. So one of the things that people don't realize is we probably have the best sales force in the world. And I think what's really unique about that, so I got to cut my teeth and, taking cold calls, doing software sales. And I can remember for me, like the first time my buddy was watching me do it, I'm sweating, like I'm just pitting out, And I think what's really unique about that is, we have this culture of Mormonism, and then a lot of people don't understand how valuable that is to the business community. And so they go out for 2 years selling the worst product possible, which is religion, right? Meaning you're not getting yeses all the time, right?
It's like literally change your entire lifestyle.
Yeah. You're going to go learn you're going to learn a new language and then try and get a yes, right? And I'm not from Utah, right? So I got to come and witness this kind of new culture to me, which was really fun to like learn. And I get to learn a lot about the Mormon religion as well, but like the people. So I learned that they really teach them sales processes. And so now you've got this highly educated workforce. They're young. They're not afraid to get a no. I mean, you hear stories of, bad things happening and they're like, yeah, we're still going.
Yeah.
And so now you say, oh, you want to do door knocking and make 200 grand when you get back? Or how about you get into software sales where you can make $1 million or 2 million? Yeah. And they're like, this is easy.
Yeah.
And so they're good at following processes and they're highly motivated to make money.
Yeah.
And so I think that now, instead of making money for other people, we started making money for ourselves. And I think that was that. So yeah, remember, we're investing in our own people, hiring our own people to be the best sales force in the world.
Yeah.
And like, that is such a unique moment.
Yeah. I think Vivint was on, or somebody, it was either the founder of Bumble or it was the Vivint people. They were talking about this on How I Built This.
Yeah.
It's like nobody stood a chance against Vivint. Like
not even close.
You come back and you've got a bunch of 21-year-olds who just got married. They already have 2 kids.
Yeah, they need money.
Yeah, they need money, and they know how to sell door to door.
I don't know who the guy is, but he's got this phrase, and me and a friend quoted it. It was like, you got to be hungry, and like these people are legit hungry, like not like figuratively.
This is like a do or die situation, and we did a good job.
Yep.
There. Okay, so we've got the fund of funds. We've got the unique sales force.
Yep.
What else?
So I think the other things are that, one, we are very community driven. And I think that stems a lot from that ward culture. So if you're not familiar, a ward is basically a church, but it stems around a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so when you get, Steve Jobs talks about this when, with Apple, when you get collisions happening and the ward kind of forces that.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're like, oh, what are you up to? And you're like, well, my cousin, down in wherever is doing this thing and they're down to $1 million in sales. Well, now we're flush with capital.
Yeah.
They're selling. And then these people start hearing about it, like through kind of like the underground, and then all of a sudden now you're getting new investment opportunities happening.
Yeah.
Right. And then what's really cool to round off a lot of that is that we teach each other. So we're really not afraid to say, here's my playbook, go out and use it because I believe in you. And then, by the way, here's 50 grand, go try it out.
Nice.
So I think like that combination of government coming in early, right? And it worked out.
Yeah.
Betting on our own people who happen to be the best sales force in the world. And then we're willing to reinvest back into the next culture by teaching.
Yeah.
Like that's the secret sauce.
That is the Mormon mafia.
That's the Mormon mafia, for sure. In a good way.
That built this place. Yeah. Okay, so you said earlier we have 3.5 million people here. Like compared to a California or a New York or wherever else, like we're so small population-wise.
Yeah.
But we make these waves due to all the factors that you talked about. But is Utah going to blow up in population? Like,
yeah,
we're ranking top 10-ish for in-migration.
Right.
Everyone I seem to meet lately is not from Utah. They're like, yeah, we just moved from Massachusetts because the mountains are right there and like we can work remotely for whatever New England company. That seems like so common nowadays. what are you seeing trends wise as far as people moving here, and where are we going to be in 10 or 20 years?
Well, I think that when the Olympics came here in 2002, which really started, this trajectory of people moving here.
Yeah. And sorry to interrupt there. What's really interesting is the only reason we got it is because Denver voted against it.
Right.
So it's like all this coalescence of factors with like Denver's like, no.
Right.
Olympics, no way.
Right. And then we're getting it again in 2034.
Yeah.
So I think that we're going to get a lot more people not only aware from us from the business community, but you're right. I mean, everyone thinks Denver's mountains. That's 3 hours away.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not gonna, it's 20 minutes, right? Yeah. Like from here to the top of the mountain.
We can get off work and be on the hike 20 minutes later.
So I think that that's a unique part, aspect of Utah. And then not only that, you drive 3 hours away and you're in Moab, or you're at Bryce Canyon, 4 hours you're in Zion's. You're in a completely different world. Yeah. And it's just beautiful. Like I just love driving. I'll put on an audiobook and just go. And I think that a lot of, I've lived in 12 different states. So like I've seen the world here. But it's just such a unique place. I do think more people are going to come. Yeah. And I think that's okay. I don't think the culture of what we've created is going to go anywhere. Yeah. Because people like me who value what has been built will hopefully keep it the way that, you came here to be like us. Like we'll teach you the community way. Yeah.
It's like those kind of underground, I was just in New York, like underground Jewish communities that are like it's just always going to be baked in, but they can teach the best parts of their culture and business practices and everything that makes them who they are to the other people coming in.
Right. Well, I think my role within that Startup State initiative, right? You asked branding, how do we do that? I think it's keeping that community culture, doing things like what you're doing and helping promote the people who made Utah the way that it is. Yeah. And then giving others, someone to emulate and be like, oh, how do I do that? But here's the playbook. Yeah.
And this Startup State initiative is new under Governor Cox, right?
Correct. Yeah.
How did it start? And you're the head of this one, but you have a boss and a boss's boss. Obviously government is not known for being the most efficient thing in the world.
Right.
How did this start? And what's been your experience as far as this administration and what they're doing for Utah long-term?
Totally. Yeah. So Governor Cox was on a trade mission and he's a country was, claiming that they're the startup country of the world. And he's like, you know what? I think that's us. Like we should do that. And that really kicked off this idea of the Startup State initiative. And so under the executive director at the time, he was like, we had some extra capital that we were going to put towards this kind of branding effort. And so that started at the end of 2023. And then the whole program launched in about March of 2025. And then I joined in June of 2025. Okay. And so what was fun is to say they kind of set the groundwork, built the brand. And then I got to come in as somebody who's been an entrepreneur, sold a business, worked with thousands of entrepreneurs to raise capital and say, what's really missing? And where does government actually help? Right. So we get the question or you might see the meme, I'm government, I'm here to help. And then, things fall apart. Yeah. But for me, when the entrepreneur community said, well, Tim, what are you going to actually do? Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a really good question. I could spend all the money marketing, but I was like, I'd rather give it to you guys to try something. And so we launched a program called Get Started. And the whole idea was, who's going to give you that first seed capital to do something dumb, right? Just try anything, right? Yeah. And the majority of the time that's credit cards or mom and dad's money or whoever, or you just never get the chance to do it. And what's unique about Utah is the governor has such a position on rural, right? So this program that we created has a heavy rural focus because I don't know if you've driven around Vernal or San Juan County. If you gave someone $500 in the middle of nowhere, Utah, and they turned that into 1,000, that is game changing for that community, right? And these small businesses and small communities, they run it, right? They're the economic drivers. They're the first jobs for many, many people. And so I think that if we can cultivate the culture that already exists, and give someone saying, let's say I gave you $500 and be like, I believe in you. Here's $500, go try it out. And it works. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's like a monthly thing you do, right?
Yep.
The pitch competition.
Mm-hmm.
How many $500 checks do you end up writing?
So it's cool. We run it all over the state. We've had 1,000 people start the application process.
Nice.
We will need more.
Okay.
We need more. But we've had 300 people complete. We've had every month we look at 15 companies, and they range from, I think, brownies to software to like, we did one that was like some fitness stuff. I mean, it's anything. Like there's no barrier to entry for the ideas. And we funded over 30 companies so far.
Nice.
Yeah. So really,
and that's, $500 is $500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now a lot of them, so we call it milestone funding.
Okay.
What are you going to do with the $500 to hit that next major milestone?
Yeah.
And so
cool.
They're crushing it.
And do you go in person to those pitches, or are they kind of video pitches?
It's all virtual.
Okay.
So it's a live virtual event. It happens the third Wednesday of every month.
Yeah.
So we have one coming up here soon.
Cool. And I saw on the website, there's like you can see real time how many people have started a business in what county.
Yep.
And what really surprised me is I was like, okay, I'm going to hit Salt Lake County. It's going to be like more than half.
Yeah.
But it was like only 1,000 out of 14,000.
Yeah.
Year to date. So I'm like, okay, there's only 25 counties.
Right.
So
29.
29. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're like stuff starting all over the place.
All over the place. And that's the beautiful thing is, so it's crazy. Yeah. So it's called the Startup Dashboard on startup.utah.gov. And it's pretty cool because we get to like see what's actually happening in relatively real time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Okay. So a few stories that I need to hear from your time in Utah. What was the first like cultural thing where you were like, what the hell just happened?
Totally. Okay. So we're in City Creek.
Yeah.
When I first moved here, my ex-wife and I lived literally across the street.
Okay.
So Brigham Apartments, which like one across the street and over one. And so I did not know what Pioneer Day was at all. Never heard of it before. And so we moved here like the end of May, and that's, June 25th.
Yeah.
And so we were invited to a Pie and Beer Day, which made sense to us because we're not from here. And so we go to leave our apartment to go buy a pie for this event. And it was like 8 a.m. Well, we were like, the day before, we're like, there are like 1,000 chairs outside. Like, what is happening? And no one told us.
Yeah.
So then we get up. We go, and there are a million people, along the street watching the parade and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was our like welcome to Utah moment. And then the next, so we go to this event, and they're like, "Oh, we should have told you guys, like, like stay at someone else's house that night or something." That was our moment.
Hilarious. You could have watched the parade from your balcony or something.
Oh yeah, we just sat at the front door and watched. But yeah,
you've been all over Utah, seen some of the most famous companies that we all recognize, have the billboards, have the PR.
Yeah.
But you've also seen these like underground ones that are basically single-handedly supporting the entire Utah economy.
Yeah.
What are some of those kind of under the radar type businesses that you've seen that are really cool?
Oh man, that's a good question. Some of the unique ones are, there's a company in Price called Merit 3D. They do like 3D printing, but they're attached to a vacuum company. They make vacuums. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're like the third largest vacuum producer, like shop vacs.
Okay.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a company that I met up in Morgan that does, I don't remember their names, but they do like the prefabricated walls for warehouses.
Yeah.
And it's like a unique blend of like cement and foam. And they can like build on site, and it's 100% recyclable. And like, they're like the biggest in this space.
Wow.
A thing that people don't realize is Utah is really, really well known for like the pills on the pharmaceutical side, especially like in that supplement space.
Oh yeah.
We have like 3 of the top 10 producers, like the manufacturers of these spaces.
Wow.
A big company that we have is called Autoleave, and they do basically all the airbags for every car.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's really, really cool company. Blender is another one that everyone has the bottle, but don't realize where it's from.
Okay.
So stuff like that.
2 or 3 that I've heard of. One is like the only company allowed to manufacture rubber chickens or something like that.
What?
They're close by. They're in South Salt Lake. I could have that wrong. The Alinco makes like all of the mascot costumes across the United States.
No way.
Yeah.
Little Giant is based here, the lemon
yeah,
company.
yeah.
They just exited, but
Oh, okay.
that's a cool one.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. Redmond, Real Salt.
Oh,
Do you know
yeah.
their story?
No.
You have to go visit. I haven't been, but I'm trying to get them on the podcast. My dream is to do the podcast in their underground salt cave.
So cool.
They literally, it's like this like unique natural phenomenon that only exists in this place in Utah, which it's near Manti, I want to say. And they have this underground salt cave that's like, you know, millions of years old that has this specific type of salt.
So cool.
And then the last one is they're in Kanab. It was started by like a cult, like a real full on small, you know, 100 to 200 person cult. And they had this animal sanctuary part of that, like that was part of it. And the cult ended up, you know, disbanding or people left. Now it's just a animal sanctuary, you know.
That's cool.
Just so random.
There's so many like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it happens so regularly that I'm like, well, that makes sense, I guess.
So speaking of unique Utah things, it ranks number 1 in the nation from 2008 to 2018 for Ponzi schemes.
Oh yeah.
So we're kind of mid-pack for normal fraud,
right?
Like just run of the mill, you know, somebody scammed you. But Ponzi schemes, we're like always right at the top.
Right.
Why do you think that is? And are we going to change that someday or?
Yeah, I hope it changes.
Okay.
I think one of the unfortunate things we do see is we have a huge issue with fraud in the state. I think it comes from 2 issues, things we've actually already talked about. We have a highly effective sales force. And then because the communities are so tight, there's an extreme level of trust already built in to the ecosystem, right? And so when senior leadership of any kind comes to you and says, hey, listen, I know you're struggling. Here's how I'm making money. Again, we teach. And so it's a natural way of, you know, and I think, I'm going to say this, I think that in the Ponzi scheme world, I think people did it with good intentions. Maybe not the senior people, but the people in the middle really had good intentions with it. Unfortunately, it's just a math problem. Yeah. You know, and I think that's an unfortunate thing that we have to deal with. When we get people in those worlds, whether they're selling, you know, the MLMs of the day, you know, we really do try and educate a different way of, hey, you can still be a business owner. You know, if you want to sell whatever that product is, like source it from wherever. I mean, we're in the World Trade Center building, like, you know, there's programs here. If you really want to get your products out to the world, like they have a program called the STEP grant, which will give you $2,500 to see if it makes any sense. Wow. And that's just a free grant for you to try. Wow. And so I think that, you know, unfortunately, you know, I think it's circumstance and timing. I mean, it's really easy. I think every entrepreneur deals with this moment in their career where they can be ethical or not. And when you're not doing well, right? And most entrepreneurs can probably attest to that. It's really hard when you're like, oh, dude, I could just go make a couple $100 doing something shady. Yeah. You know, because it's easy. Yeah. And then I think the ones that do well fight that urge. And honestly, I think it's an urge that comes all the time, especially like, you know, we see issues in government, and every private sector has that problem, you know, and so when things aren't going well, you know, we're good at sales and we're desperate. Good at sales and desperate. Yeah. That's a combination. Yeah. That's not good. Doesn't go well. Yeah. We had Murphy Dorr on the podcast, Jeremy Barker, if you know him, and they have a kind of competitor product to Little Giant ladders that is quite cool. But he had a church leader tell him, hey, like, let's get into business together. He's super young. And this guy started a bank account in like just with like one word different than the actual name of the company. Oh. And stole $2 million from the 21-year-old kid who was like, you know, putting all his trust in this big business church leader. And unfortunately, that's not an isolated story. Right. So it's interesting, as you're saying, like, we're bringing in all these world leaders, like copy this, but watch out for this. Right. Yeah. So we do a lot to educate, you know, and that's an unfortunate red flag that we have. Yeah. But I think it goes because we're so good. Yeah. It's just again, that line, if you've been there, it's an easy one to cross. Yeah. And it's hard to uncross once you do it. Yeah, that's fair.
What do you think the biggest difference between Silicon Valley and Silicon Slopes is?
Oh, they have a lot more money than we do.
Okay.
A lot more money. I moved to New York for a year, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. Lived in Manhattan, did the whole thing. Lived in a slanted apartment.
Yeah.
And I just realized that like the amount of money in New York versus here, like there's a lot of money here. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in New York. Like that's where all the money is. And I think San Francisco is very similar.
Yeah.
And so when you're in that legacy money, the rules are very, very different, right?
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing about Utah, right? Like we play by our own rules. It's hard to come here, to being honest. We really like the people that are here and we want them to stay, and people leave and then come back and bring knowledge and experience, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think San Francisco gets the best talent out there because they get paid a lot more, still living in crappy situations.
Yeah.
But now that people are being able to do more remote work, you're seeing a lot of people move away from the Bay Area and San Francisco and New York for a better lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so, like we talked about before, 20 minutes away, the mountains are here. And, when you can just close your computer and be skiing that afternoon, like that's pretty amazing.
I've heard you say we probably won't be the AI innovation capital of the world,
right,
but we'll sell whatever it is they invent in Silicon Valley.
Right.
So do you feel like the future for us is just leaning into our strengths, or is there a place for kind of developing the places we're weak, like you said?
I think it's so expensive to do deep research. I think there's an element that our universities do really, really well there. We've got a fund called the Utah Innovation Fund, a $30 million fund to help spearhead new ideation. We have a history of mining, so we do have tech and things like that, but like, it's not really like as prevalent of innovation like AI in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting all the mines to, fly over there. But man, we'll outsell those guys any day, and I think that those partnerships are going to get stronger. I think there's an opportunity for us. We don't have a Fortune 500 company in Utah yet. I think that's still to come.
Well, the Apple news that they're going to build out by Texas Instruments. Right?
Yep. Huge. That's amazing. So, and I think when we start bringing a lot of that talent here, we have a big push for aerospace, advanced manufacturing. I think, we're doing they just announced this kind of accelerated micronuclear plants just recently. I think those things are going to bring the knowledge capability. Yeah. And we talked about earlier, but you just partner with a sales guy. Yeah. Like you go build. Yeah. And then, I'm going to get this sales guy who can just go crush it. And that's going to be magical. Like we haven't done that yet. I mean, we're doing it, but that's going to be cool. Okay.
So who do you think will come to Utah first? Which Fortune 500 company?
We're going to build it. It's going to be homegrown.
Okay.
But I think what we're going to do is I hope we see some more partnerships with the current Fortune 5 companies saying, no, we need a strong presence in the state because this is on the horizon. And they're going to do that investment, bringing a lot of outside talent and outside people. Yeah. And then it's going to be homegrown, 100%.
All right.
That's my bet.
Calling it now.
Yeah, calling it now.
So the other interesting thing about Utah is that half of the people are employed by 300,000 small businesses. How does that affect things on a day-to-day basis, and what does that mean for our future?
Yeah, so it's one of the best things about Utah because we're not so heavily involved in one industry type. So I don't know what these numbers mean, but I'm just going to throw it out. We have a 94.3 rating of if something goes wrong, will we be okay? And I think because we're so spread out on these small businesses, that it allows us to weather storms versus if, we do have these 5 core areas of focus, that make up probably the majority of the GDP, but the normal humans, the people that are out there just, and they do very well, by the way, financially, they can weather the storm when we have a downturn in tech or, aerospace is not, we're not at war or something like that,
Yeah, we've got the tourism, we've got the manufacturing, we've got the tech. Yeah, makes sense. So another interesting stat I've heard you quote is that 99% of businesses in Utah have only one employee.
Yeah, 1 to 2.
And that comes from like 1.2 million workers.
Give or take.
Okay, so 600,000 of them are employed by 300,000 businesses.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're really a small business state.
Yeah.
And this is similar to what you would see in like a Kansas or these rural states that are similar to ours. But like they make a really big impact.
Yeah. I've always heard this, or we hear this a lot, that small business is the backbone of the economy.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Why is it so important, like compared to these massive companies who can pay higher salaries, who can, give the benefits that the average person really wants?
Yeah. So I think the key here is when I saw this stat, if you grew up in a family where your parents were business owners, there's a higher likelihood of you being successful as a business owner. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many things to learn, right? So you got to learn marketing and sales and tax, like you got to learn everything. And when you're living through that world, you just listen to your parents talk about it all the time. So my mom was a doctor. She had her own practice. And my first company was, not company. I was shoveling snow, making 30, 40 bucks a driveway.
Nice. And
then that pivots to the next thing. And, then I helped start a marketing firm when I was in high school. And so like, you just start to try it, and that's like my career was just like, I'm going to try something random, and then that keeps building. And then all of a sudden, like in our state, right, there's so many people trying it. Yeah, go get the experience at the big company, right? Yeah. But now you want to do something bigger, right? Yeah. You got laid off. This is what something people don't realize is the majority of people who start businesses, it's not because they want to. Mm-hmm. It's not like, it's usually because you have to. Mm-hmm. And I call them the unemployables. I don't have a better word for it yet. Yeah. But I'd say 90% of people are like, I got laid off. What do I do now? Yeah. And so they end up in entrepreneurship. And with a community that we've built here, they find people just like them really quickly, and they start to share these resources, right? Yeah. And so one of the things that we've done, at least for our thing, is to aggregate all those resources, So we've got over 200 resources, government backed, throughout the state, so that if you're in, Beaver, which is about 2 hours south of Salt Lake, you're like, who do I go talk to? Well, there's an SBDC person, small business development person in that area that's waiting to talk to you, right? And it's illegal for them to do marketing. Yeah. Like it's against the law for these free resources to go out and like promote themselves and what they do. And so, it's a challenge to say, like, how do we pair you up with the right resource at the right time to go and be a huge, major impacted player in your city?
Okay. So it's like, just like you would grow up in a family of entrepreneurs, and that would help you with a business. If you grow up in Utah, you just have a propensity to start something,
right?
And maybe 1 out of 1,000 of those becomes huge, and you employ, hundreds or thousands of people,
right?
But even if you don't, it's contributing to like the stability of everything in a really important way.
Completely. Wow. And then if you're in like the larger cities, right? So like I said, I was in New York. You're like, oh, how do I go work for one of the big banks? And then what skill set do I need? And then, one of the hardest things, so I left entrepreneurship, sold my business, and then got into big consulting. Yeah. Was to watch these big companies. And then you're like, wow, your sales process is really bad.
Yeah.
Like I was with a company that was doing a couple $1 million in sales, and we were way outperforming you on a process point of view.
Yeah.
And then you get involved with people who are higher up, middle management and banks, and you're like, well, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I never touched marketing a day in my life.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, how do you make money? And they're like, I'm an operator.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. Well, you can't teach. Just like I didn't know what an investment banker was because my mom was a doctor.
Yeah.
When we were in Eugene, Oregon, right? I don't know if there's investment bankers there, probably, but probably very few.
Yeah.
You don't learn that world unless you're around it. And so it's cool being here because you get to learn the world of entrepreneurship, and hopefully you participate.
Yeah. Have you read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He said it was really hard to find investment bankers in Eugene.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
There was like 2 banks, and he had to bounce back and forth.
Yeah. I didn't even know the word until after my MBA program. Okay. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
because I went there to start a business.
Yeah. Okay. So these resources that you alluded to, you guys have a list on your website, the
Yep.
startup.utah.gov,
Correct.
of every single resource available to a new middle stage or kind of getting ready to sell business.
Yep.
And there's some pretty insane ones. I want to focus like the bulk of this conversation probably for beginners, because that's the majority who will be listening, but it'd be interesting to go through like, what do we have for the beginners? What do we have if you're mid stage? And what do you have if you're advanced? Like what's available to me as the average Utah person looking to start a business?
Okay.
That's, free money or free help or what?
So the number one question we get is money, right? Yeah. So I'll answer these in a couple of ways. So there's kind of stages, right? I call it zero to idea. Mm-hmm. So you can go and meet with anybody. The universities are probably the most resourced groups if you're in that idea phase. So go to BYU, go to Lassonde, go to Utah State, Weber. Like they've all got entrepreneurship programs now, which is incredible. Yeah. With that being said,
just audit the class if you don't want to.
Yeah. Or take professional development. Okay. Yeah. Do anything.
Yeah.
And they want you in that system, they get funding for it, And so the other thing is, so we have the Small Business Development Center. This is a federally backed program. Mm-hmm. It's all over the state, and they'll meet you at the very beginning before you're like spending any money. They'll like just sit down with you for an hour and talk you through what you're doing. Then we have a really good culture of co-working spaces. So if you've been to, there's a group down in Lehigh called Kiln. It's actually one in Salt Lake as well. And those co-working spaces, we talked about church and state already, are the real hubs of these like communities in a lot of ways. People will meet with you there. And then the Women Business Center, the Swazo Business Center, there's a place down in Provo called iHub, that they'll take people at this early stage. And so I think that's beautiful.
And that's like free consulting.
Free consulting. People will just meet with you.
Yeah.
And then they'll try and get you to, remember I talked zero to idea. Mm-hmm. They want you to get from idea to $1, right? Where you get that first customer. Some businesses, it takes a long time. Some are very, very short.
And I've had experience with one of these SBDC things, and it wasn't like, your uncle that knows nothing about business. It was someone who had actually sold a business and was like volunteering their time or, getting paid not a really great wage just to help you out.
Right.
And they had like subsidized co-working there as well, like an office, right?
Correct. Yeah. So there's a couple groups. One is called the Mill. The one you're referring to, I believe, is called the DATC, Davis something technical something. I'm not sure what the words are, but DATC for short.
Yeah.
But they'll subsidize the rent. So let's say a normal co-working space is going to cost you, I don't know, $500 to $1,000.
Yeah.
Theirs are like $100, $200, right?
Yeah. And they were like, if you want to take a course or go to an event or something that's like $6,000, they'll pay half.
Exactly.
Something crazy.
Yeah. So there's a program called Custom Fit.
Yes.
These are all the like hacks. So Custom Fit, if you're going to do training, as long as you tell them first and they approve it, they'll cover half the cost of any training that is required for your company.
And do you have to be at a certain stage?
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope. So this is like the zero to idea one. And that's when a lot of people use this when they're like forklift certifications or whatever. Like it's just a program because they know they need to upskill. Like AI is huge right now.
Yeah.
Training for AI could probably fit into this program.
Wow.
Sales training could fit. Like really anything that's training related that's required fits into that program.
And you just show up to your local SBDC. You say, hey, I want to upskill in some way.
Sure.
Obviously, it's going to take some time to get approved. But you could literally save thousands of dollars doing this.
Yeah. So an easy way to stretch that money you don't have.
Yeah.
Right. The other ones that are really unique, especially in that early phase, is we have a thing called the microloan funds. One's called the Utah Microloan Fund. But then typically every county has their own microloan fund. And they lend anywhere between like $1,000 to $50,000.
Wow.
At really, really competitive terms. So it's the hardest money to get is that first money. Mm-hmm. We always tell people, go ask your friends and family. And then they're like, but what grants are out there, And I'm like, don't go after grants. First of all, grants are for the government to try and accomplish something.
Oh,
And if you're in that world and you're going to solve something the government wants, sure, go after grants.
yeah.
But they're really hard capital, because typically what I've seen is the grant takes you, 90 degrees from where you were trying to go initially.
Mm.
And then you got to do all the reporting and stuff like that. But there are grants out there, grants.gov, going to throw it out there. Check it out.
Yeah.
But Utah Microloan Fund is a really great source of capital. These other microloan funds that are county-based are really good too. We have a program. So now going from like 1 to 2, that's where you're like getting your business going.
Yeah.
Typically we call them unbankable businesses. So they're in this like weird phase where they're like, doing $5 million a year in sales. And they're like, I still can't get a loan. Our office runs a program called the Utah Small Business Credit Initiative. And they give, $250,000 to $1 million loan. And what's beautiful about that is it's actually de-risked for the bank. So our office provides half the capital, the bank does, and then it'll be blended rate. So you get, like, instead of paying 7 or 10%, you're going to get a government rate and the bank rate, and it'll be like 4 or 5%, depending on what's happening. Wow. Yeah. So there's a lot of these little programs the government offers because they understand that, 0 to 1 is really, really hard. 1 to 2 almost feels harder. And then, but if we can get you to 2, then you become an economic driver.
Yeah.
And we have a program, it's called EdTIF and RedTIF. I don't know what the letters stand for, but R stands for rural. But basically it's a tax incentive. So if your business is growing and you're doing, more than 30 employees and you're in rural Utah, or even in, non-rural Utah, there's an economic tax refund if you hit certain benchmarks that you set through our office. Oh. And so, it's a huge capital save so that you can reinvest that money and grow that business.
So I have to go to your office and say, hey, I want to grow from 3 to 5 million. If I do that, will you like give me a tax credit?
Yep. Yeah.
For real?
And then the board votes on it. And then if you're in, you're in.
Okay.
Yep.
How many of those do you approve a year?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's say 10. I have no idea.
Yeah, but definitely possible. And I mean, like, at those numbers, that's $100,000 that
you're saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's probably enough full multiple employees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hires an entire other person or 3 to come change your business. Okay. So that's sort of mid-tier. Is there anything else for really advanced companies or anything else we missed on the lower?
Yeah. So that RedTIF is, I would say, way later stage. You're $50 million. You're a big company. But so walking it through. So the World Trade Center that we're at right now, that's a great program for all stages. But again, if you're like in that like mid stage and you want to get out of the state, which I highly recommend, they'll talk to anybody at any time.
Get out of the state?
Meaning like export your product to other countries.
And they actually do have some kind of, like, it's not just a fancy name, it's the World Trade Center of Utah.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's their mission, is to help bring more economic growth through these partnerships.
That's hilarious. So I just like walk in there like, look, I want to start exporting to Japan. And they're like,
here's how you can do it.
Okay. And you said there was a beginner one there as well, like $2,500.
$2,500, yep.
To do if you're exporting.
So if you're thinking about exporting and you want to do like kind of like your own little mini trade mission or whatever, maybe there's a conference you want to go to, or you need to go see I don't know what the restrictions are.
Yeah.
But it's $2,500 to go and see if it's worth your effort to get your product out of the US.
Wow. Okay. So if I combine custom fit, World Trade Center, your what's it called?
Get started,
$500. I could easily have 10 grand towards education.
Yep.
And deploying that product.
Totally.
Wow. For free.
Yeah, for free.
I never have to pay back.
Right. Now, custom fit will only cover half the cost of the training, but
if your training's 10K, let's say
on it,
best case scenario.
Sure. But you're still saving a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I think what people are afraid to do is reach out to government resources.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's so sad.
Yeah.
And what's cool about all of us is most of us have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, like, I think the guy that's running that group, that SBDC, has been there for like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And so we all know most of the resources. So when we get to know your business, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I know who you should talk to next. And so you're like, we're not helping you do sales. But like sometimes you don't realize, like another program, like mid-tier, late tier, is called Apex Accelerator. And their whole mission is to help you get government contracts. And what's really cool about that is that if you look at most companies, especially those in like the minority categories, the ones that are successful, 30% of their revenue comes from government contracts.
Wow.
And so you're like, well, I'm not growing. And you're like, well, maybe the government needs you.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people kind of cut themselves out of opportunities instead of proceed on like, okay, well, what do you actually need? I'll go change my business, pivot my model, and maybe start facilitating HVAC or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
And maybe they don't refer you to the SBDC consultant that's there 2 days a week. Maybe you're like, hey, I've been in Utah 20 years. Like, this is who you need to talk to.
Exactly.
I've got his number.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in a job like yours,
Right.
you've been around the block a few times, so you know people.
Right. And like for me, so I ran Park City Angels, which is a local angel group. I've seen, I don't know, 10,000 businesses, 10,000 business models. I know all the CEOs.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know what they're up to today, but it's a quick call to be like, hey, are you still doing that thing? I think you guys should partner.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I ran the Mill, which is a co-working space, had thousands of companies come through there. And so like, we're all really well networked with people just like ourselves.
And again, it's not like there's that many people here.
No, there's there's 300,000.
Everybody's got the same Rolodex.
Exactly.
Okay, this has been awesome. As you know, somebody who's trying to get more people to see how cool Utah is, I love to ask every podcast guest, what are the 3 businesses in Utah that you're like, this makes Utah worth living in? I love this business. I'm always there, where I go every weekend.
Yeah. So a couple ones. One, I love Santos Tacos. Okay. The one, they got one down the street here and one by my house.
Okay.
It's just good.
Okay.
Right? It's just so good. I think I don't know if it's true, but I think they put Birria on the map.
Okay.
Like Guy Fieri came, you know, they've got this little picture on the wall, but I do believe they started this whole thing of Birria. So I'm going to make that claim. I don't know if it's true.
So it sounds like they're consistent and
consistent. It's so good.
All right.
Yeah.
Santos Tacos. I'm writing that one down.
A company I'm really, really excited for is Rick Hernandez. He runs a company called Social Good Software. They do like the software for museums. Just on the cusp, came from nothing, really turned his life around, you know, and then became a software engineer, learned how to do sales. Like, I mean, like the truest person of like somebody you want to emulate.
Wow. So museum software, like buy your tickets to the museum. He's selling it to like museums in New York and wherever.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's got about a little less than 100 companies.
Wow.
And yeah, all the way from, you know, Museum Mile, if you're familiar with that in New York, it's like, you know, I don't remember all of his customers, but yeah, he's got all over. If you go to any major city, the likelihood of some museum using his product is 100%.
Wow. That's cool. Sounds like someone we should have on the podcast.
He's awesome.
That's sweet.
And then a person I'd love to meet, I'm going to say that, who I'm a huge fan of, is Tan Franz. He was on Queer Eye.
Yes.
You know, like, if you've never watched the show, I think it's one of those, like, you have 5 people who tell you you're amazing for a week.
Yeah.
Like, sign me up. Like, I think having someone who's more of a cultural icon like that in our community is incredible.
We have so many like cool celebrities here.
Yeah.
We've got Ty Burrell from Modern Family.
Yep.
We've got Katherine Heigl, lives in Summit County. And Post Malone. Post Malone's dad.
He loves Utah.
All the people. That's cool. Thank you so much, Tim. This has been amazing. Tell us again where we can find all these resources that you mentioned. And if they want to get in touch with you or someone else at the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, how can they do it?
Great job. Yeah. So the best place to go is startup.utah.gov or business.utah.gov. You will get to any resource you want that's government backed through those 2 websites.
Beautiful.
If you want to reach out to me, it's Tim Culie at utah.gov. Pretty easy to find.
And he's fast. He emails back fast.
Yeah, I tried to. That's my superpower. But yeah, we do a really good job of keeping things updated. And I will put a plug out there. If you are a founder and you want to get more exposure, we have a founder feature form on our website. It's under our news section. And we love featuring founders. We want to know what people are doing out in Utah so we can, you know, say who are the cool, hidden companies in Utah more.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks so much, Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of UtahPreneur with Tim Culie of the Startup State Initiative. If you enjoyed this episode and the free resources that we talked about that are available to entrepreneurs at all stages, please share this episode with a friend. While you're at it, go ahead and listen to our last episode with Bill Reagan. He's the wife of Julia Reagan. All of those billboards you saw all over the state during 2024 and early 2025, those were a tribute to his wife, and it's a very heartwarming story, as well as an incredible entrepreneurial story. And as always, make sure to follow us on social media. Links are below in the description.